This episode is brought to you by NetSuite. NetSuite unifies the online, in-store, and mobile shopping experience with an integrated commerce solution that seamlessly connects e-commerce and in-store POS to order management, inventory, merchandising, marketing, financials, and customer service. NetSuite's core goals are to unify the online and in-store experience to satisfy omnichannel customer demand and exceed buyer expectations, enable a buy anywhere, fulfill anywhere, return anywhere experience, empower sales associates and customer service representatives with a 360-degree customer view, offer real-time cross-channel inventory visibility, and manage orders in multiple channels all in one place. Over 40,000 organizations around the world are transforming their businesses with NetSuite. Are you next? And now, on to the show.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to episode 123 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. Today I'm joined by Melissa Baird, Vice President, Systems and Procedures for Draper James, a lifestyle brand and retailer of women's apparel and accessories that was founded by actress Reese Witherspoon. We're going to be discussing Draper James' move to an omnichannel, cloud-based platform from NetSuite. Thanks for joining me today, Melissa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I think it would be a good idea to start by just giving our audience a little information about Draper James.
Sure. So Draper James is the brainchild of Reese Witherspoon, who was really looking for products that she remembered from her childhood. So it was mainly her two sets of grandparents, and the brand is named after them, so Dorothea Draper and James Witherspoon. And she credits them with really giving her sense of Southern style and what grace and charm is all about. And so she was looking for things that she remembered. She remembered her grandmother wearing pearls and wearing white driving gloves while only driving white Cadillacs, and, you know, the types of kitchenware that she would have and the dresses that she would wear, and she really couldn't find it in the market anywhere. And she realized that there was this whole market of people in the South that were underserved. Everybody's serving the coast, New York and LA, and the South is having a little bit of a renaissance right now. And so she had this idea like, hey, maybe I can lend myself to doing something along those lines. So that's how we got started.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about why Draper James was looking for a cloud-based solution to help it with omnichannel strategy and operations. Maybe talk a little bit about, prior to working with NetSuite, what were some of the challenges that you were encountering?
Yeah, so we had so many different systems. When you start up in retail now, it's not the same as it used to be. So you used to start up with one channel, and then you would layer on several other channels over time as you got bigger. And you just can't afford to do that in today's retail environment. So we were trying to start up everything all at once, which meant we had so many different systems. So we had this complicated network of Excel spreadsheets. We were pulling out of our e-commerce platform. We were trying to gather all of our POs together, and it was just causing chaos and a lot of work man hours. And so we really felt like we needed something that could serve at our core as where we get all of our data so that we could have more visibility into our business.
Yeah, in addition to those manual work hours, I would imagine it was probably more apt for error then as well, since it was being done manually.
Exactly. We were definitely opening ourselves up for a lot of error. Plus, just the inability to see trends in our own business. So if something was selling really well in one channel, didn't always translate to seeing that across the board, or even seeing that within a particular channel where we could harness some of our marketing efforts to that one place.
Yep. So then, as I mentioned, you're working now with NetSuite. So what was attractive about their retail apparel edition solution that you guys ultimately ended up going with?
So there were two reasons that on their surface aren't very exciting, which is functionality and price, right? So on the functionality side, every ERP sales guy would tout how customizable their solution is, and usually that is true. One of the major differences between larger ERPs and smaller ones is the amount of the load that the ERP company is willing to take on to help you customize it. So they're all customizable. It's just who has to do it, you or them. So the smaller guys usually make you hire your own engineers in order to build out your customizations, and the larger guys take on a little bit more of that effort. And so NetSuite was really like the first one to start to be more specific to like a channel. So mostly ERPs, they try to be everything to everybody. So the same software is sold to all companies, from tire manufacturers to renewable energy to SaaS software. And NetSuite was the first one that was like, okay, retailers, we've already thought through some of your specific use cases. And so you're still going to need to customize, but it'll be a little bit more on customizing the idiosyncrasies of your own business and less about customizing for your core business. So they've already thought through that. Retailers usually have a wholesale component, and retailers usually need reporting and margin, and just some basic things that were already out of the box there. And then the second reason was basically the price tag. NetSuite was in the upper tier of functionality, but didn't have the Cadillac price tag that a couple of the others did.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the different ways that you're using this solution. You mentioned previously a little bit about inventory, accounting. Let's talk about maybe an example or two of the ways that Draper James is working with this new ERP solution from NetSuite.
Yeah, so the primary thing we were after was the one source of truth across all of our channels. So we already talked about the complicated series of spreadsheets that was causing hours of data pulls. And so now all of that data is feeding in, plus we can see better visibility into our inbound purchase orders and what the expectations for timing of that product will be. And so we can help communicate that to our customers, so it gives us a little better view of where we are. So for NetSuite specifically, we use the inventory management piece and the financial piece. And we started with that core, and then perhaps we will build on other pieces in the future.
So what are the business benefits that you're looking to accomplish or hope to realize from this new platform? And then you could talk about when you've launched on it and maybe any initial results you've seen.
We're still very much in like the process change and stabilization mode. And anytime you implement a system that's more robust, it exposes some areas within your operation that need some fixing. And so we're working on those right now. But what I hope to use NetSuite for is to create a true cross-channel experience for our customers in a systemic way that helps us scale. So we fake it now. So if you come into a store and you really want this dress that you saw online, we might be able to call around to different stores, see if we have one online, see if one's sitting in like the returns waiting to be processed pile. But it's a lot of manual effort behind the scenes, and I want to do it in a much more systemic way so that we don't need an army of people in order to do those things. Because really, customers don't think in channels. Customers just shop, right? And they do expect slightly different experiences across different channels, whether they're on mobile or web or in a store. But really, you want them coming away from your brand feeling the same way, which is that they had an interaction with your brand that is up to par of what they would expect from you. And so we feel like making all of our inventory available to them at any time is what they expect from us, and really in today's market is like table stakes for being able to offer everything across your whole network.
Yeah, and maybe we should define the channels for Draper James. Obviously, the e-commerce site, a couple retail stores, correct?
We have 3 retail stores and 1 opening in Atlanta in November.
Okay, and is the brand sold through any retail partners at wholesale, or?
We are sold through Nordstrom and Net-a-Porter currently.
Okay. And then as you were answering that last question, the thought popped in my head around, since you're so new to the platform and the solution, maybe you can talk a little bit about the timeline for implementation and how quickly you've kind of familiarized yourself with it and your staff and kind of gotten up and running and comfortable using it?
Sure. So we started the implementation right after everybody got back from break on holiday. So I would say sometime like mid-January. And then we ended up going live about mid-June. So, about 6 months, including, the requirements gathering and making sure everything was communicated correctly to NetSuite and to our integrators. So that went really well. We used NetSuite for the implementation, so that was a pretty seamless process. And then after we got up and running, I would say, I don't know, it took, the first couple of weeks are, always a little rocky, but it took probably about a month for everybody to start feeling a little more comfortable. And then I would say it took 2 months for them to start seeing the virtues of it, right? Because nobody loves change, especially when you're trying to get the work done. So there's always sort of a learning curve on top of the fact that, they just need to trust that the system has everything and more that they were doing before. And so that probably took a good couple of months. And we're still tweaking it to make it easier for everyone. But now we're very much in wow, this process could be so much better by using NetSuite. So let's build out something for that team mode instead of let's make sure all the orders are getting in correctly.
Yeah, you're able to see the cool features and how it can really improve your business, so it makes people want to use it even more, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's talk about, you've mentioned Draper James, obviously, a new brand, obviously looking to grow. So what are some of the ways that you believe that you can use the NetSuite to help kind of scale the business?
Well, so you already mentioned wholesale partners, and that is the biggest, most immediate way they're going to be able to help us. So how you manage your wholesale customers is very different than the way you would manage your e-com customers or your retail stores. And there's things that you have to do around inventory, around pricing, around shipping windows. There's just a lot more structure that needs to be put in place. And so NetSuite is definitely a huge win for that, for sure. And as we get bigger and potentially have more and more partners and more units being sold to each of those partners, it's really the only way we could have done it was to put it into something that was a little bit more robust like NetSuite.
So my final question, Melissa, is we just talked a little bit about the implementation process that you've just gone through at Draper James with the NetSuite platform. Do you have any advice for other retailers that are either in the market and looking for an omnichannel solution like this, or maybe even have chosen it and starting to kind of go through that implementation process?
Oh man, how long is this interview? I feel like I've filled notebooks with if I ever do this again.
Wait, the top one or two things that spring to mind that you would really kind of tell people this is where you need to be focused.
Yeah, so my major piece of advice would be to not try to change too many things at once. So it is so tempting when implementing a big piece of software to say, well, while we're in there, we should also fix this other thing that we've always wanted to fix, and it's such a big pain, right? Mm-hmm. Don't do that. Big platforms are already a lot of change for the team. There's a big learning curve. There will be bugs and edge cases that arise that you just didn't think of when you were putting it in. And if you try to change more than one thing at a time, it's much harder to isolate which new thing is the broken thing or causing the pain. Plus, the more changes you make, the more of those unknowns you open yourself up to. So then after launch, you get stuck in this scramble to fix everything rather than sort of feeling the pain for about a week of the different things that you may have missed, and then being able to move on from there and then start actually improving your business processes. So that's my major piece of advice when doing any big software implementation. The other one would be, though, have someone on your staff when you start implementing that knows the system and has had experience with the system in advance. So I would say that we learned that lesson where we thought we could just learn it as we go, but then we realized that NetSuite is still a very complex piece of software, that can do a lot of things, and we knew we weren't going to be able to maximize what it can do with someone who didn't know what they were doing, only because we all have so much work to do in a startup that everybody was so heads down, nobody could take a breath to learn NetSuite on top of doing their regular day job. So we did end up hiring on a systems administrator for NetSuite, and that has made a world of difference. So if we had gotten him on a little bit earlier, I think we would have gone even faster, and it would have been even less painful. So those are
made your life a little easier, right? So I think that's some really sound advice. So I want to thank Melissa Baird of Draper James for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, but make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.
Over 40,000 organizations around the world are transforming their businesses with NetSuite. Are you next? Visit www.netsuite.com/retail for more information.